What happens aback a daytime television account spirals so far out of ascendancy that Aegis has to be called? What happens aback America's sweetheart finds herself in the average of a aristocratic accident that leaves anybody speechless? Today, we're diving into the atomic battle amid Prince Harry and Kelly Clarkson that had the absolute studio, admirers gasping, and producers scrambling abaft the scenes. This is the untold adventure of how a simple promotional account angry into television chaos. Accomplish abiding to subscribe and let me perceive in the comments what you anticipate actually triggered this absolute situation. The Kelly Clarkson appearance was declared to be a safe space. Known for her balmy interviews and 18-carat affiliation with guests, Kelly had congenital acceptability as one of the best trusted hosts in daytime television. Her adeptness to accomplish alike the best attentive celebrities accessible had fabricated her appearance a go-to destination for aloft promotional tours. So aback Prince Harry's aggregation accomplished out to altercate his latest accommodating initiative, anybody accepted addition heartwarming chat about his assignment. With veterans and brainy bloom advocacy, the morning of the taping, aggregate seemed normal. Prince Harry accustomed at the flat with his accepted Aegis detail, greeting agents' associates with his adapted charm. Kelly, beginning from her morning basic session, was aflame about the interview. She had able anxious questions about his foundation assignment and his activity in California. The affectionate of softball actual that about fabricated for agreeable television afterwards bridge any afflictive lines. "I'm actually attractive advance to this," Kelly told her ambassador as they did final complete checks. "He's consistently been so 18-carat in his interviews, I anticipate our admirers will actually affix with what he's accomplishing now." The account started actually as planned. Kelly's aperture was balmy and welcoming, her signature appearance putting guests at affluence oral moments. "We're actuality with Prince Harry. And I accept to say, every time I see you, you aloof assume added and added adequate in your own skin. How are you? Activity about aggregate, your architecture actuality in America." Prince Harry acclimatized into his chair, actualization airy and accessible to advance his latest project. "Thank you for accepting me, Kelly. It's been an absurd adventure, and I'm actually aflame to allocution about the assignment we're accomplishing with veterans. The acknowledgement has been overwhelming." "That's what I adulation to hear," Kelly responded, her 18-carat activity evident. "Acquaint us about this new initiative. I perceive it's abutting to your heart." For the aboriginal 10 minutes, aggregate proceeded smoothly. Prince Harry battened foolishly about his work, administration claimed, belief about veterans he'd met, and the appulse their programs were having. Kelly asked after-effect questions that showed she'd done her homework, creating the affectionate of elusive dialogue. That fabricated abundant television, but a fresh Kelly absently to ask about article that had been authoritative headlines. "I accept to ask, and I achievement you don't mind, but there's been a lot of belief about your accord with your ancestors aback in England. I perceive our admirers would adulation to apprehend your angle on award antithesis amid your new activity, and advancement those important ancestors' connections." The change in Prince Harry's abode was immediate. His airy aspect confused, and article flickered aloft his announcement that the cameras bent perfectly. "Kelly, I anticipation we were actuality to allocution about the important assignment we're accomplishing for veterans, not to change abridged gossip." Kelly, still advancement her able composure, approved to cross aback to safer ground, of course, and the assignment you're accomplishing is incredible. "I aloof anticipation aback you've been so accessible about your adventure that maybe you'd appetite to allotment how you antithesis everything. Our admirers actually adore your authenticity." "My authenticity." Prince Harry's articulation agitated a bend that hadn't been there moments before. "Is that what we're calling it now? Look, I acknowledge what you're aggravating to do here, but I came on this appearance to allocution about veterans, not to augment the media apparatus that's been antibacterial my ancestors for decades." The flat audience, who had been acquiescently acceptant aloof account earlier, fell silent. Kelly's producer, watching from the ascendancy room, acquainted his abdomen drop. This wasn't the administration anyone had accepted the account to take. Kelly, cartoon on years of acquaintance administration difficult moments, approved to broadcast the situation. Harry, I actually accept and I account that. Why don't we get back to talking about the Veterans Program? I perceive you accept some amazing belief to share, but Prince Harry wasn't accessible to let it go. Do you, though? Do you actually understand? Because from area I'm sitting, it feels like every interview, every conversation, every attack to do Article Absolute gets askance into questions about ancestors, Ball, and Alcazar. Intrigue. I'm aggravating to body Article Elusive here, and all anyone wants to allocution about is the past. The restriction in the flat was palpable. Kelly's accepted balmy abode remained, but those who knew her able-bodied could see the slight binding about her eyes, the way her easily absorbed her calendar cards aloof a little too firmly. She had navigated bags of interviews, but this was alien territory. I apprehend you, Kelly said carefully, and I appetite to be admiring of your boundaries, but I additionally anticipate our admirers connects with your adventure because it's about advance and affective forward. That's actually absolutely inspiring. Prince Harry leaned forward, his articulation bottom-ward to an added acute level. Inspiring, Kelly. Let me acquaint you what's inspiring. What's alarming is the adept who came to our centermost aftermost anniversary who hadn't announced to anyone about his PTSD for 3 years. What's alarming is the distinct mother who's been disturbing to adjust afterwards her deployment, and assuredly begin a abutment system. That's what I appetite to allocution about. That's what affairs, and that's actually what we should be talking about. Kelly agreed, aggravating to beacon the chat back on track. Acquaint us about that veteran. What was that moment like for you? But Article had confused fundamentally in the dynamic. Prince Harry's annoyance seemed to be architecture rather than subsiding. You apperceive what, Kelly? I anticipate there's Article we charge to abode here. This accomplished industry, this accomplished arrangement of celebrity interviews and promotional tours, it's all advised to abstract Article from people. You appetite the claimed story, the ancestors' drama, the behind-the-scenes details. But what if I don't appetite to accord that to you? Kelly's able affectation slipped aloof slightly. Harry, I anticipate you ability be confounding what we're aggravating to do here. This is about adulatory, your assignment, and administration. Your bulletin with bodies who appetite to abutment it. Is it, though? Prince Harry's articulation was assent now, and the flat admirers was alive uncomfortably in their seats. Or is it about ratings and clicks and giving bodies article to allocution? About at the baptize acknowledgement tomorrow? The ambassador in the ascendancy allowance was aimlessly signaling to Kelly, but she was on her own now, alive in advance of an audience, aggravating to administer a bearings that was ambageous aloft anyone's control. Kelly acquainted the weight of every eye in the flat on her. Years of alive television had accomplished her. To anticipate quickly. But this was different. This wasn't an abstruse malfunction or abandoned line. This was a bedfellow actively arduous the actual foundation of what they were accomplishing there. Harry, she said, her articulation steady, but with a slight agitation that abandoned the best acute admirers would catch. I anticipate we both appetite the aforementioned affair here. We appetite to flashy ablaze on important assignment and advice people. That's what this appearance has consistently been about. Prince Harry sat aback in his chair, his accoutrements crossed, belief Kelly's face with an acuteness that fabricated the cameras assume intrusive. Do we, though? Because I've been accomplishing this for years, Kelly. I've sat in these chairs, answered these questions, played this game, and at the end of the day, what gets reported, what gets shared, it's never the substance. It's consistently the drama. That's not fair, Kelly replied. And for the aboriginal time, there was the arresting bend to her voice. We featured hundreds of guests talking about their causes, their work, their passions. Our admirers cares about these things. They affliction about what you're accomplishing then. Why did you accompany up my family? Prince Harry attack back. If this is actually about the veterans, if this is actually about the work, afresh, why did we accept to go there? Why does every distinct account accept to draft on the palace, the drama, the relationships? The flat admirers was actually bashful now, blind on every word. This wasn't the adequate feel-good television they'd appear to apprehend from Kelly's show. This was raw, unfiltered battle arena out in absolute time. Kelly took an abysmal breath, her media training blame in. Because Harry, whether you like it or not, your claimed adventure is allotment of what makes your advancement assignment powerful. Bodies affixed with your adventure because it's relatable. The ancestors' struggles, the claimed growth, the adventuresomeness, to accomplish difficult choices. That's what makes bodies accept a back-you elocution about brainy bloom and veterans' issues. Relatable. Prince Harry's articulation absurd slightly. Kelly, you accept no abstraction what you're talking about. My ancestors' struggles aren't relatable. They're not entertainment. They're not agreeable for your show. They're absolute people, absolute relationships, absolute affliction that gets dissected and analyzed and commodified every distinct day. The ambassador in the ascendancy allowance was authoritative, agitated Duke signals. But Kelly couldn't attending abroad from her guest. Article was accident actuality that went aloft a difficult interview. This acquainted, personal, raw, like years of annoyance were assuredly award their outlet. I accept that, Kelly said, her articulation softer now. I actually do. But, Harry, you've alleged to be accessible about these things. You've accounting about them, talked about them in added interviews. I'm not allurement you to acknowledge secrets or abandon confidences. I'm allurement you to allotment your angle. On article you've already fabricated public. Prince Harry stood up abruptly, his microphone wire affairs taut. That's actually the problem, Kelly. Aloof. Because I've aggregate article doesn't beggarly, it's open. Season. Aloof because I've talked about my struggles doesn't beggarly. Every account should be analysis affair for accessible consumption. Sit down, Harry, Kelly said firmly, her ascendancy as a host assuredly asserting itself. We're in the average of a live appearance we can assignment this out. Can we? Prince Harry remained standing, his articulation accepting louder, 'cause I'm accepting, actually annoyed of actuality told what I should be adequate discussing. I'm annoyed of actuality managed and handled and accepting my boundaries abandoned, because it makes for acceptable television. The admirers was visibly afflictive now. Some bodies attractive about nervously, others affairs out their phones to almanac what was acutely acceptable a viral moment. Kelly's warm, affable flat had adapted into article abroad entirely. Harry, please, Kelly said, continuing up herself. Now let's booty a animation here. We both affliction about important causes. We both appetite to advice people. Let's acquisition a way to do that together. Together. Prince Harry laughed, but there was no amusement in it. Kelly, do you apperceive how abounding times I've heard that word? Let's assignment together. Let's acquisition accepted ground. Let's accomplish this assignment for everyone. But it's never actually together, is it? It's consistently on addition else's terms. That's not true, Kelly protested, her own annoyance assuredly showing. I've been annihilation but admiring to you. I've accustomed you a belvedere to allocution about your work. I've asked anxious questions. I've approved to actualize a amplitude. Area you could allotment your message. Your space, Prince Harry emphasized. Your show, your rules, your agenda. And aback, I try to set a boundary. Aback, I try to say this is what I'm adequate discussing. Aback, I'm actuality difficult. Suddenly, I'm the problem. Kelly's ambassador was now continuing in the wings, acutely debating whether to alarm for a bartering break. But Kelly, conceivably analysis that this moment was bigger than her show, apprenticed on. You apperceive what, Harry? Maybe you are actuality difficult. Maybe you're so acclimated to accepting aggregate your way that you can't handle a simple account question. Maybe the botheration isn't the media. Maybe it's you. The words afraid in the air like a concrete presence. The flat admirers gasped collectively. Kelly's eyes widened slightly as if she couldn't actually accept what she aloof said, but she didn't. Booty it back. Prince Harry stared at her for a continued moment, his face cycling through several emotions. Aback, he assuredly spoke. His articulation was alarmingly quiet. "Excuse me," I said. "Maybe you're the problem," Kelly repeated, her articulation stronger now. "Maybe you're so active actuality the victim of the media apparatus that you can't see a back addition is actually aggravating to advise you. Maybe you're so focused on absorption yourself that you've abandoned how to accept a 18-carat conversation." A 18-carat conversation. Prince Harry's articulation was assent again. "Kelly, you appetite genuine. Here's genuine. I came on this appearance as a favor to your producers. I rearranged my schedule. I able talking credibility about adept suicide anti- and PTSD analysis programs. I was accessible to accept a elusive altercation about issues that actually matter, but instead I get ambushed with ancestors, ball questions, and a fresh lecture about actuality. Difficult aback, I try to alter the conversation." Kelly stepped afterpiece to him, her own acrimony now actually visible. "Nobody ambushed you, Harry. I asked one catechism about balance, one catechism about how you administer your new activity with your ancestors' relationships. That's not an ambush. That's accustomed animal conversation, normal." Prince Harry's articulation cracked. "Kelly, annihilation about my activity is normal. Annihilation about my ancestors is normal. Annihilation about accepting every conversation, every relationship, every clandestine moment angry into accessible belief is normal. So, no, I don't appetite to allocution about balance. I don't appetite to allocution about ancestors' relationships. I appetite to allocution about veterans who are dying by suicide at ante that should affright every actuality watching this show." The flat had become a burden cooker. Kelly's audience, acclimated to adorning belief and celebrity affable segments, was witnessing article unprecedented. The restriction was so blubbery, it acquainted like the air itself was vibrating. "Fine," Kelly said, her articulation bound with controlled anger. "Let's allocution about veterans, but don't you cartel angle there and address me about what affairs aback you can't alike handle a simple catechism about your own life. Don't you cartel accomplish me the villain because you're too brittle to accept and developed conversation." Prince Harry's face went white. "Did you aloof alarm me, fragile?" If the shoe fits, Kelly attack back, and in that moment, both host and bedfellow aloft a band that would change everything. The chat brittle seemed to acknowledgment through the flat like a gunshot. Prince Harry's absolute abode confused in that instant, his face bloom with the aggregate of acrimony and article that looked about like hurt. The cameras bent every micro-expression, every attenuate change in his aspect as he candy what Kelly had aloof said. "Fragile," he afresh slowly, his articulation almost aloft a whisper. "You anticipate I'm fragile, Kelly?" Kelly accomplished. Anon that she had aloft a line, but her own acrimony was too able to call back. "Now, I anticipate your addition who can't handle actuality challenged. I anticipate your addition who's gotten so acclimated to bodies walking on eggshells about you that you've abandoned how to accept a absolute conversation." A absolute conversation? Prince Harry's articulation was accepting louder with anniversary. "Word, you appetite a absolute conversation, let's accept one. Let's allocution about how you congenital your career on actuality relatable. On actuality the babe, a budding aperture who understands approved people. But actuality, you are in your multi-million-dollar flat, lecturing me about actuality out of touch." Kelly's eyes flashed. Don't you cartel about face this about on me. I've formed for aggregate I have. I've been honest with my admirers about my struggles, my failures, my growth. I don't adumbrate abaft titles and handlers and anxiously crafted accessible statements. Hide. Prince Harry stepped after peace to her, his articulation assent to a kin that fabricated several admirers' associates visibly flinch. You anticipate I'm ambuscade Kelly? I've been added cellophane about my brainy bloom struggles than any accessible amount in history. I've talked about therapy, about medication, about baleful thoughts. I've opened up about ancestors' agony and claimed relationships in means that except amount me everything. And you're calling me fragile. Yes, I am, Kelly attacked back, her own voice now analogous his volume. Because Addition, who was actually able, wouldn't cook bottomward over one simple catechism about ancestors' balance. Addition, who was actually adventuresome, wouldn't bandy a acrimonia back asked to accept the accustomed animal conversation. The flat. Admirers was now above board uncomfortable. Some bodies accepting up from their seats, others recording with their phones. Kelly's the ambassador was aimlessly aggravating to get her attention, but she was bound in this battle with Prince Harry, both of them aloft the point of able courtesy, a tantrum. Prince Harry's articulation absurd with disbelief. Kelly, I came actuality to allocution about veterans who are disturbing with PTSD, who are advertent suicide, who charge assets and support, and you're calling my attack to breach. Focused on that important assignment a tantrum? No, Kelly said, her articulation alarmingly quiet now. I'm calling your disability to acknowledgement one catechism about your claimed activity a tantrum. I'm calling your charge to ascendancy every aspect of this chat a tantrum. I'm calling your complete abridgment of account for me, my show, and my admirers a tantrum. Prince Harry stared at her for a continued moment, his chest ascent and falling. Rapidly. Aback, he battened again. His articulation was different, colder, added controlled. You apperceive what, Kelly? You're adapted about one thing. I do accept the abridgment of respect. I accept the abridgment of account for bodies who pretend to affliction about important causes while actually caring about ratings. I accept a abridgment of account for hosts who ambuscade their guests and a fresh comedy victim aback alleged out. And I accept a complete abridgment of account for this absolute industry that turns animal adversity into entertainment. A fresh why are you here? Kelly demanded. Why did you appear on my appearance if you accept so little account for what we do? Why did you accede to this account if you anticipate it's all so meaningless? Because I was above board abundant to anticipate. This ability be different, Prince Harry replied, his articulation abundant with disappointment. I was brainless abundant to accept that maybe, aloof maybe, there was still the abode in media area the bulletin mattered added than the messenger, area the account mattered added than the controversy. Kelly laughed, but it was a absinthian sound. Oh, that's rich. You're aghast in me. You're aghast in my show. Harry, you've spent the aftermost 20 account advancing aggregate I've built, aggregate I angle for, and now you're disappointed. You came actuality with an agenda. And aback I didn't chase your calligraphy perfectly, you absentatively to draft aggregate up. My script, Prince Harry's articulation was incredulous. Kelly, my calligraphy was talking about adept suicide prevention. My calligraphy was discussing brainy bloom resources. My calligraphy was aggravating to advice bodies who are actually struggling. Your calligraphy was ancestors' ball and claimed revelations. One question. I asked you one catechism about antithesis, and you angry it into World War II. One catechism. About how you administer your relationships while architecture your new life. And you acted like I was allurement for accompaniment secrets because that one catechism represents aggregate that's amiss with this industry, Prince Harry said, his articulation accepting louder again. It represents the actuality that you can't aloof let the assignment allege for itself. It represents the actuality that every chat has to be about me, about my claimed life, about my relationships. It represents the actuality that the veterans I'm aggravating to advice become accessory to the soap opera you appetite to create." Kelly stepped a like afterpiece to him, her face ablaze with anger. "You appetite to apperceive what's amiss with this industry, Harry. It's guests who anticipate they can appear on Edition Else's appearance and behest the terms. It's bodies who anticipate they're too important to be asked accustomed questions. It's advantaged behavior, disguised as conscionable stands advantaged." Prince Harry's articulation was now loud abundant that the admirers could apprehend him acutely afterwards his microphone. "Kelly, I've accustomed up everything. I've absolved. Abroad from my family, my country, my absolute character to try to body article meaningful. And you're calling me advantage because I don't appetite to about-face my claimed relationships into agreeable for your show." "Yes," Kelly said firmly, "I'm calling you advantage because you anticipate you get to adjudge what questions are adapted in an interview. I'm calling you advantaged because you anticipate your causes are added important than accepting a 18-carat chat with the bodies who appetite to abutment you." Prince Harry ripped off his microphone and threw it on the floor. "You apperceive what, Kelly? I'm done. I'm done with this conversation. I'm done with this show, and I'm done with bodies like you who anticipate they accept the adapted to pry into every aspect of someone's activity for entertainment. Bodies like me." Kelly's articulation was alarmingly quiet. "Now, what actually do you beggarly by that, Harry?" "I beggarly bodies who body careers on added peoples." "Pain," Prince Harry said, his articulation abounding with disgust. "Bodies who pretend to affliction about important causes while actually caring about ratings and viral moments. Bodies who anticipate they deserve admission to every clandestine anticipation and activity because they accept a television show." Kelly stood there for a moment, visibly afraid with anger. Aback, she spoke. Her articulation was ice-cold. "Get out." "What?" I said. "Get out. Get out of my studio. Get out of my show. Get out of my space." Kelly angry to face the admirers and the cameras. "Ladies and gentlemen, this account is over. Security, amuse escort our bedfellow out of the building." Prince Harry stared at her, in disbelief. "You're accepting me removed from the building." "I'm accepting you removed from my show," Kelly said firmly. "You've been disrespectful. You've been confusing, and you've been actually inappropriate. This is my studio, my show, and my decision." 2 Aegis guards were already effective against the stage. Prince Harry looked about the flat at the admirers' associates who were now above board recording at the cameras that had captured every moment of this confrontation. At Kelly, who stood there with her accoutrements crossed, cat and mouse for him, to leave. "This is unbelievable," he said, but his articulation had absent its beforehand fire. "This is actually unbelievable." "What's astonishing is your behavior," Kelly replied. "What's astonishing is that you anticipation you could appear on my appearance and amusement me like this. What's astonishing is that you anticipate you're the victim here." As the Aegis guards accomplished the stage, Prince Harry captivated up his hands. "Don't draft me. I'll leave on my own." He angry aback to Kelly one aftermost time. "You apperceive what, Kelly? You're right. I am disappointed. I'm aghast in you. I'm aghast in this industry. And I'm aghast in myself for cerebration it could be different." He absolved against the exit. His Aegis detail bound crabbed him. The flat admirers sat in abashed silence, borderline whether to acclaim or abide quiet. Kelly stood abandoned on the stage, her chest ascent and falling rapidly, her face a admixture of anger, shock, and article that ability accept been regret. As Prince Harry accomplished the exit, he angry aback one final time. For what it's worth, Kelly, the veterans I assignment with, they're not fragile. They're the arch bodies I know. They aloof bear addition to accept to them afterwards aggravating to about-face their affliction into entertainment. And with that, he was gone. Kelly continuing abandoned in advance of her audience, the cameras still rolling. The weight of what had aloof happened clearing over the flat like an abundant blanket. Kelly looked out at her audience, a fresh anon into the camera. "We'll be adapted aback afterwards this break," she said, her articulation almost steady. But as the cameras cut away, anybody knew that annihilation would any time be actually the aforementioned again. So, what do you anticipate actually acquired this absolute bearings to circling so actually out of control? Was it Kelly's catechism about ancestors' balance, or was there article added activity on? Subscribe to The Approach, and let me perceive in the comments. What do you anticipate was the absolute breaking point that angry a simple account into television chaos?